What's up everyone, welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel, and it's about the time that I bring some tutorials back on, since I was concentrating mostly on the music concept and other things around music and the artist development. So in this video I'm gonna show you how to create a Zap Snare. Visit www.eclipmusic.com/courses and sign up for the course that will change your production and craft up your career. So I'm gonna talk about the importance of the Zap Snare and how you can use it, but first let's design it. So I'm gonna create an instance of the Serum 2 of course, and I'm gonna start by using the default saw oscillation since it's very harmonically rich and it's very nice for making the zaps. So it sounds like this. I'm gonna use a C# note, and I'm gonna connect envelope 2 to the coarse pitch. The coarse pitch, it's a kind of a pitch. And the reason why we are connecting it to the coarse pitch is because if I connect it to seminotes, then we're gonna get a quantized effect. If I reduce, let's say 200 milliseconds, it sounds nice as well, but if I increase that, we can hear all these quantized notes as it moves from one seminote to another. Instead of seminotes, I'm gonna connect it to the coarse pitch over here. I'm gonna set it again to around 200 milliseconds. I'm gonna bring it down. And by default, connected to the coarse pitch, we already go inside of the matrix. We can see that it's going to be by default on bipolar, which means from the default pitch, it's gonna pitch it above and then it moves below it on the same amount. So if you want to have like the tail, or you think that you will need to tune your Zap Snare, you can use the unipolar way. And then once you start pressing that note, and if you keep it, it's gonna stay in the note that you pressed. I'm gonna use bipolar because it sounds very nice, and I'm gonna increase the amount all the way up, and I get the Zap Snare straight away. But I'm gonna, of course, add a little bit more character to it. I'm gonna use the noise over here, and I'm gonna connect the same envelope 2 to the level of it. I'm gonna reduce the level all the way down. So I'm gonna use the envelope to amplify the level and then bring it down. This, what we hear at the end, is the very, very low pitch, since it's going to be pitched down very much. So I want to stop that as well. So I'm gonna set the decay to around 200 or something. And then I'm gonna increase the shape of the curve. Maybe reduce it a little bit more. Something like this sounds nice already. So I'm gonna turn on the filter, and I'm going to use normal peak 24. I'm going to increase the drive a little bit, and I'm going to increase the resonance as well. And I'm going to move it to keep it to around 300. And I'm going to connect the same envelope 2 to the cutoff as well, as now the envelope 2 will modulate the filter cutoff as well. In general, moving this resonance above till down. And we get the Zap Snare straight away. To make it a little bit more stereo and a little bit more interesting, I'm going to increase it to 4 voices. I'm going to reduce the detune because I don't want it to be detuned that much. Something like this. I'm going to go to the effects. I'm going to add the equalizer. I'm going to add the low cut, reduce the Q, and increase it to around 250. Maybe a little bit more. And of course, you can always play with the amount of the pitch. So I'm gonna add it, and I'm gonna add it to the snare position. And I'm gonna extend this loop. So now I will explain how we can use it and why it is kind of very intelligent element. So once we start arranging, we have the scenes of the track where we have, like, let's say we start mostly with the dry kick in the bass, like this one. So we start with the dry kick in the bass, then we start adding like a close hi-hat. And then in the moment, once we add the snare, we are controlling the energy. In general, by adding more drum elements, we are rising the energetic level of the whole track. Once we are looking at the drums and the arrangement in general, by the drums, we just control the energy of the track, and and this is one of the key points of the arrangement. So by dropping the snare inside of our track, we are kinda jumping few steps, and energetic level of our track is rising up on a higher level, and this is one of the key points of the track arrangements, because once the snare is punching in, we push the track to a higher energetic level. So there's a gap in between, and we can smooth up this transition by adding the Zap Snare inside of our tracks, and we can use it like instead of moving straight away to the snare, because the snare is very powerful and it can increase the energy on a higher level. Instead of moving from that position to another one, if there's a need for that, we can use the Zap Snare, because it does the same purpose as the snare. It sounds nice, it's an interesting sound design, it's very popular in the psytrance, but also it does not have the full power as the snare. So we can use it to smooth up these energetic levels and create a smoother transition to a higher energy level of our tracks. As we are living in the era where we need to make very interesting arrangements, that means that we need to maintain the listener's attention all the time. We can use it as an additional element in our tracks just to make it a little bit more interesting. For example, I can move this Zap Snare, and I don't need to continue adding the drum elements after each 8 bars, as now with the Zap Snare I can cut that and I can start, or I can add the Zap Snare after the 4 bars. So I can keep the kick and bass dry for 4 bars, and then I can add the Zap Snare and make the whole game a bit more interesting. Again, I can create a little bit more interesting rhythmic section. Let's say I can play it like this. Of course, I could play with the effects. I can add, let's say, the hyperdimension as well. It's gonna change it a little bit from time to time. It creates this kind of coarse-ish effect, which I don't like that much, but if we add a reverb and we reduce the highs a little bit, or maybe we can start playing with the delay a little bit, where we can use like filtered out delay. I can set it to 1/8 dot. I can also set the another one, and I can set it to a ping pong as well. So to get a little bit more stereo information. We can add the LFO as well on the frequency of the delay as well, just to create additional movement. So now we created something very interesting, a bit more different, something that can bring like additional storytelling element in a drum section and create the whole game a bit more interesting, and getting away from the typical standard development and arrangement in our tracks. So I don't want to bother you that much, as I want to make this video more effective and shorter. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. And this particular template is going to be released because there's so many of you requesting the drum template in a C#, so I'm still working on it, and it's going to be soon available on my website. Thank you very much for watching, and see you soon with another video. And don't forget that the first vibration is coming out this Friday. See ya.